All right, we're here to finalize, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? Thor's going to toss a coin, and we're going to get your answer right now.
Heads, it's a Christmas movie. Tails, it's not. Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we like to take a look back at movies that shaped our generations. We're going to continue the 2021 Christmas season while reviewing 1988's Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Thor.
But first, like and subscribe, hit that bell notification so you never miss another Retro Film Review. All right, Die Hard is a fantastic movie based on a New York cop is coming to LA to visit his estranged wife. He arrives at their office Christmas party. At the same time, terrorists come in and take over the building, and then he's left shoeless to try to save the day.
Who said they were terrorists?
Really not. That's just what they appear
That's what they appear to be. But Han says, who said we were terrorists?
That's what they told me.
So we will get into whether this is a Christmas movie or not, but it does happen on Christmas Eve.
It does.
And what amazes me about so many Christmas movies is that these parties happen on Christmas Eve. Why aren't these people home with their families?
I don't know. Well, they're in LA.
Scrooge was on Christmas Eve. The movie Santa Claus with Tim Allen was Christmas Eve, the party. This is on Christmas Eve. They need to be home celebrating. Come on. Come on.
Maybe they had no families to go to.
That could be. I tell you what, though. This is probably my second favorite Christmas action film, right next to The Night the Reindeer Died, starring Lee Majors. You know, if you haven't seen it, it's classic. So,
and if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch our other film review, Scrooged.
So, let's talk about Bruce Willis.
Yes.
This was his first action movie. He was mainly known as a TV star for Moonlighting and probably some little bit, shows, but that was the main one, was Moonlighting. And they didn't think he could actually carry this movie.
No. In fact, they originally wanted to have Robert De Niro be this role. And then Robert De Niro...
Hans, you talking to me? That was horrible. Sorry.
Oh, Lord. So anyways, but he turned it down and did the movie Midnight Run, which Bruce Willis had auditioned for the opposite role of that, which...
the Charles Grodin role?
The Charles Grodin role, and then he didn't get it, so he was available for this. It's amazing how the world works out perfectly.
Yeah, no. The Midnight Run was great. Charles Grodin played that perfect. But we're not here to talk about that. But I love that trivia. That's great. I didn't know that. So, yeah, he's a New York cop that's coming out to see his estranged wife, which I honestly couldn't figure out. Were they divorced?
No,
or they were just separated?
They were just separated. So she got an opportunity to go out to L.A. to work for this corporation. He didn't really want her to go, but she took the kids because he's, like he said, he had a couple of cases, a bunch of scumbags he still needed to put up in the locker. So he felt like he had unfinished business and didn't want to go out. So that's where they're,
And the limo driver...
Argyle.
Yeah, Argyle said, you thought she wasn't going to make it out here, so you stayed back. Yeah. And, he's like, you're a pretty quick read, aren't you? So he figured it out. But,
yeah.
And some guy, East Coast versus West Coast, so
yeah,
they don't normally mix.
Exactly. But, you have your typical crew at our Christmas parties. Mm-hmm. A lot of wild hijinks going on. But regardless, getting back to Bruce Willis, it was one of his first roles, and they didn't want... I think the studio didn't really want him to be in this role. They didn't think that he could carry it on. Even so, the fact that when they made the poster for this to come out, they didn't have his face on it.
It was this picture minus him. It was just the towers.
Yeah. And then after it was a success for the opening weekend, then they put his face on it. This is what we're all used to seeing. But, how boring of a movie poster is just a building. It's like the Towering Inferno or something,
Well, see, that made more sense. The Towering Inferno, you got a building that's on fire. This is Die Hard, and you got a building that's got explosions on top. It's
then what does the title even mean?
Yeah.
At that point.
I still don't know what it means. What does Die Hard mean? Can you die harder if you get that reference?
You can if you got a sequel.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bruce Willis, but what was great about him is he took that comic, timing that he had so great with Sybil Shepherd and Moonlighting and brought to this role. Yeah. Now, I know he did a little bit of research with some New York detectives to try to find out what, their demeanor was. And he says really a lot of them were kind of wisecracking, people in their life because you use a lot of humor when you're in uncomfortable situations to kind of help you get through it, which is just what he does in here. What is great, though, about this character is that, he plays it off that he's an everyman. I mean, he has the mentality of a New York cop detective, so I really don't consider it an everyman. That would be you and I in there. We're probably pleading for our lives. But the...
How do you rate it? Give me a thumbs up.
Thumbs up on that one. But but he's put into some really compromising situations, such as being barefoot.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, he literally has a T-shirt that disintegrates in front of our eyes.
But that says a lot about the T-shirt that it still holds up, even with all the holes in it. Yeah, and it's funny when the bare
Hanes
feet.
Cotton is the greatest in the world.
So whenever he's on the airplane to begin with, it's the foreshadowing of the guys just, take about the stress, take your shoes and socks off and
rub your feet.
Toes. So he's doing that. He's like, man, this works. And all of a sudden then the gunshots go off.
Yeah.
It's like, he grabs his gun.
He does.
Gets his shoes.
But that's but that element of it elevates the story even more because it puts, another level of, fear or conflict or into that.
Yeah.
Because, now, so they do later on, where they shatter the glass. Now he's got to deal with, walking on glass and cutting his feet up. And, I mean, he just goes through hell.
Well, and the guy, they're shooting, Hans tells his counterpart there, says, shoot the glass. And the guy's like, this guy killed my brother. I don't want to shoot the glass. I don't care about hurting his little feet. I want to go kill him.
Well, the only thing that was funny about that, so they're supposed to be German, okay? Which in reality, most of those actors were not German, and they had to learn some German. I read for the role, and they all did it terribly. But the funny thing is that he tells him the direction to shoot the glass in German, and he's like, "What?" And he goes in English, "Shoot the glass." I'm like,
yeah, I thought that was funny because I'm like, I don't get it. If they're both German and they're speaking German, they should understand each other really well. Yeah. I guess that was for us, the audience.
That was for us, the audience. Yeah.
What did he say?
But the and well, let's go on into Alan Rickman, who was Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber,
probably one of the best movie villains for an action movie like this. I mean, after Darth Vader, but.
Who? No, I don't know who that is. Come on, give me a pound there. I don't know what he was doing. He was giving me a thumbs down with his cast. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the funny thing is that Alan Rickman, who is English, who's playing a German, but he had only been in America 2 days or LA 2 days before he started on the role. And the first scene that they shot was the one with him and Bruce Willis.
Which one?
The one that they're together.
I mean, there's a lot.
Well, the one that they're having the little conversation where he plays American.
Oh, okay. He's trying to be like he's Californian.
Yeah, or he's Clay.
You're one of them.
Bill Clay.
Yeah.
And so, but fun fact, that little bit where he's, I don't know, I guess he's planting the explosives, and then he jumps down. And then he's there at the feet of Bruce Willis. Well, he actually injured himself.
Really?
On that jump. And so the rest of it, where he's just kind of propping himself up against the wall, he's on one leg. And with a boot on the other leg during that.
You're kidding.
No. So yeah.
And there's two different versions of that scene where, because McClane hands Hans a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And, he tells him to do whatever. And, of course, Hans, as soon as McClane turns his back, he points the gun at him. Well, right before that, when he's handing him the gun, there's a dialogue where, he's giving him a cigarette and this and that. And apparently he notices Hans's watch, and it's German.
Oh, okay.
It's a German watch. And so he says, once the gun, he's like, man, that accent's really good. You should go to Hollywood with that. The other version is when he finds out, he goes, yeah, Hans, you got to work on that accent. You're not pulling it off too well or whatever. So there's like two different versions.
Oh, wow. But then they pulled the whole Hollywood accent into the script at the end of it. Where he came back, but yeah.
And one thing I thought was funny, if Hans is a terrorist, or actually he's not a terrorist, they're
thieves.
They're thieves. He's used to handling weapons. If you're used to handling firearms, the weight, you are going to notice an empty
chamber
magazine.
Yeah.
Or, well, you're not. I don't know if you're that good, you could tell there's one bullet missing. Yeah, I can't mess with it.
Shake it around a little bit.
If you shake the gun and the bullets rattle, don't fire it.
Right.
But there's especially anyway. I'm getting off. It's the weight.
Yeah,
would make a difference. Of course, then it's not fun for the viewers and stuff.
Yeah, movie magic.
Movie magic. So, but no, I love his character, and to think that it's his first Hollywood movie.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
Well, it is, and now I read that Rickman was concerned that being it was his first role, that he would then be kind of typecast as a villain for the rest of his life.
I don't know. Severus Snape, I don't know. Harry Potter, anybody?
Yes. But being typecast pays well.
Yes.
But it was just kind of, a lot of the villains you've seen in a lot of the action movies up to that point, more tough guys and kind of stuff. So this was kind of a change of character for what you would normally see in an action film. This was the refined, smart villain who had skills.
In the 80s, if you notice, most of the villains were either like German or Russian.
Right.
Look at Lethal Weapon and some of these. It's like they always. I watched a video one time and they're like, "Are you upset?" They're talking to a German guy. And, "Are you upset they make the villains?" He's like, "Have you seen our history? We're the bad guys." He was joking. It's like
they are keeping my country employed.
Oh man. So yeah, and then one of the other guys, his main henchman, and I can't remember his name. He's the
Klaus.
Yeah, Klaus
with the long blonde hair.
Yeah, he was flowing, but he was like a
ballet dancer. Yeah,
like they had a crazy ensemble for this cast, but it all worked. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
he played probably the best kind of German guy.
Right.
But
he's not German.
No, he's not German.
I don't know why I want to say he was French, but I think
he was French.
French? Okay.
If he's not, I'm sorry.
But I did read out of all those...
Comment and tell us.
The ones that were supposed to be German, obviously the Asian guy and the Black American guy was not, but only two of them actually spoke German.
Really?
Out of all those people.
Would have been funny if it was with the Asian guy or the black guy.
Yeah. Now, fun fact though, Bruce Willis is the only cast member who actually has German heritage. He was born in West Germany.
Really?
Yep. Because at that time, Germany was split.
Mm-hmm. Yes. History.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Americans here that have a lot of German background.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they came over in 1853, so we're good.
All right.
What about you? We still have our first video was Ghostbusters, which you need to go back and check out when you'll see how we progress. But there's two members from Ghostbusters cast that are in this movie.
Who are they?
I'm glad you asked. No, one of them is Reginald Bell Johnson, who actually plays Al Powell, the police officer that's helping John McClane from the outside. They become friends over the CB radio. And in Ghostbusters, he has a real small bit part, which he actually plays a cop. Again, typecast.
Yeah.
Where when the Ghostbusters in the jail and he comes and says, hey, you guys, you come with me. So it's a bit part. But the other guy you really like.
Yes, Dickless.
Yes,
William Atheron, who was Walter Peck in Ghostbusters. I forget his name here, but he's the TV news anchor.
Yep.
And so, while we're talking about that news crew, the lady who was the news anchor woman was in our latest review, Scrooge, as a board member.
Yes. All of our movies tie together. It's almost, the 6 degrees?
6 degrees, yeah.
Kevin Bacon.
Yes, exactly. But the news reporter just really is like he's all out for the story. But I don't know, the second movie he's actually in, Die Hard 2 he's actually in, but he plays much more ruthless in that one. This one I didn't think he was as bad as I had remembered it being, other than the fact where he goes into the family's home and tries to get a quote from his daughter.
Well, that's one of those shock, journalistic things that a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Not all journalists do that, obviously. It's a needed profession, but some of them, it's that shock value. We want to be first to the story. We want to do it. And he had that mentality. I mean, he was listening to the police scanners. He was doing everything. Apparently he'd maybe been on some wild goose chases because his producer was like, no. And then he finally gave in and said, all right, go. And, of course, it was the biggest story that happened.
And it was I guess it was the plot device needed to alert Gruber that McClane and Holly were together.
Right.
Because he saw the kid on the TV talking about her mom and dad to come home. If he hadn't seen that or happened to be watching TV at that same time.
Well, I mean, what's funny is because when Holly came into the room where Hans was, the family picture was down, and she kept staring over at it, and he was looking back like, what are you looking at? And he saw it, and he was about to probably lift it up, and then somebody, we got this problem over here. So he left, and then when he saw that on TV, he immediately went to that picture and said, okay.
Because he'd already met McClane at that time.
Yeah.
So he knew that was who it was. So the other little side character to me that made a big impact for the small role was Ellis. Who was just
he was the Gregory Peck in this one.
He was, he was the just the sleazeball who just is trying to make the deal happen, whether it was for his own personal conquest or with the business guys. And his big thing is that he was always snorting cocaine. So it's never said, and I'm curious of whether or not it's in a deleted scene. But when they bring him in to meet with Hans, that they pour him a Coca-Cola.
Oh.
So do you think they asked him, can I get you anything? It's like, do you have any Coke? Him thinking that it was cocaine, and they poured him they brought him a drink. I don't know.
That's a good one. I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. Either it was great product placement.
So. He catches the small detail. I didn't even catch on that he's snorting Coke, and then they brought him Coke. I want some Coke. Okay, here's Coke.
No big deal.
Back to the Future. Give me a tab. Can't give you a tab unless you buy something. All right, give me a Pepsi free. Can't do that.
You got to pay for it if you want it. So, but yeah. But he got what was coming to him.
Yeah. So he did. And McClane tried to help him. They were not friends.
No, he just met him that night.
And what surprises me is Ellis, being the butt kisser that he was, why he didn't reveal that Holly and McClane were husband and wife.
Well, because I think he was still trying to protect Holly because according from the beginning, he liked her.
Oh yeah.
And so he knew that if he revealed that, they would take all their direction to her, and that she would be, the one getting killed.
Yeah. that, or if they took care of McClane, then that would leave her for him.
Could be. Yeah.
What a shame. And the deputy chief, right, or deputy assistant chief, was played by Paul Gleason. Mm-hmm. Every time I was watching, because when I was rewatching this, all I could think about was him in Trading Places. That's the movie that I go back to, where I can see him as being put in that gorilla suit. That's so sad. He's been in so many other movies. He was the principal in Breakfast Club. 16 Candles. What was I thinking?
Another John Hughes classic, but yeah.
I'm ashamed of myself. So every time I'm watching him in it, I'm like, all I can think about was Trading Places. I'm like, that's so bad.
Yeah. Well, and then the FBI guy, it was played by Robert Davi, who's from Goonies. He ends up becomes also well known as a James Bond villain, but they didn't last long.
No, all these movies intertwine. It's awesome though.
Yeah. But, well, they all got good people in them. So
go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to go into kind of where some of our character developments for the beginning. There's really two main ones, which is John McClane and then Policeman Al. Yeah,
I would even think that Holly would have some development. Maybe in a way.
Well, I think so. Her development was basically, they were estranged, and then at the end of it, they get back together. But, so I think she kind of wanted that to begin with.
Yeah, that's why I kind of changed it. She's like, the kids want you there, and I do too. I miss you. So I guess that isn't a lot.
Other than the fact that she was second in charge with that corporation, and so when her boss was killed or executed, then he was, she kind of took up that leadership role slightly. But but McClane, he was, unsure of his marriage. I think he was the kind of person that he really didn't like himself or things that he did.
Right.
And so, but he just kind of overcompensated for them with his jokes and the way he kind of acted in his reactions. Because even whenever they got into a fight in her office before all this even happened, it really was kind of stupid, as most a lot of marital fights are. But it just kind of escalated into what really shouldn't have. It really shouldn't have escalated.
Right.
And so, but I think as he kind of, the same thing is, you go through personal tragedies and conflict, you realize what's important to yourself,
right?
And then that alters how you feel.
True. And then for Al, him having, as he describes later, the mistake he made where he thought the teenager had brought up a gun and it was dark and everything, and he made the mistake and took the boy's life.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to sit behind the desk. And then to come, full circle where he's the one
who hadn't picked up a gun since.
Yeah, and hadn't picked up a gun since, but he still had it on his hip. So
standard issue.
Yeah, and so then he was, a crack shot, no pun intended there. I mean, he
took care of him. Yeah, when he needed to be used, he.
And what's funny is he used all 6 shots for Klaus, and then what in the world? I can't remember now, and I just watched this. Right after he shoots him, something else happens, and he turns with the gun. It's like,
Argyle comes out.
Okay.
He busts through.
That's right.
He's with me.
Oh, that's right. The limousine comes out. He turns. He has zero ammunition in there.
Yeah. And even Argyle gets to save the day, too. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that there's no, all the characters, there's no wasted space. I mean, everybody that has been introduced generally has a purpose to propel the story forward.
Yeah.
But talking about the getaway van that
I was thinking the same thing.
That Argyle that he runs into. So you have the magic car that's in the van.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you don't know what we're talking about, when they pull in and the back of this truck opens up,
big U-Haul kind of thing.
Yeah. And all your terrorist villains walk out of it. I mean, there's probably 10, 11, and whatnot.
Wasn't there 12?
Was it 12? Okay. 12 Days of Christmas, 12 villains of Nakatomi.
Just a season.
That's right. And so, but then, I don't know, hour and a half later, that same U-Haul truck, a van pulls out of it. It just magically appears. But in one of the behind the scenes, they realize that. They realize that, okay, we've got this magic van, but I think people will just kind of forget about it. That there was nothing in the U-Haul to begin with.
Yeah.
Because
I think what was it the director said, if someone who begins to watch the movie, and they're watching it straight through, and they remember an hour and a half ago that there wasn't a van, they didn't see a van when they opened up the doors, then we didn't do our job. And I'll be honest, I didn't pay attention to that when I first watched it.
No, I didn't either.
And now that we're talking about it, the van, let's say the U-Haul van, it wasn't a U-Haul, but it had a lift gate on the back. Well, when the van comes out, it's got ramps. Yeah. And it's like, and there was no lift gate, I don't think. So it was like,
I know.
But I tried to watch last night to see when they opened up that back door at first, did they show the entire back of the van and you couldn't see it? It was kind of hazy and smoky. So I'm like, you could kind of say that there was something like blocking it or something. But it wasn't there. And they said, oops, we need a getaway vehicle. Now there's two small minor parts that I thought weren't needed. And they're silly for comic value, and they weren't needed. They basically happened about the same time. You're talking about the Asian bad guy. I don't know his name on the movie, so I apologize. But when they're getting ready for the police to come through the front doors, and he's setting up by like the snack bar, getting his position, he's like, let me just grab a Nestle Crunch. It's like
product placement.
I guess so, but it's like, really? I mean, you've got the LAPD coming in. You've got all your clips there.
He didn't want to be hangry.
Not clips, your magazines. And so, yeah.
It's like a Snickers man.
And then the other one, as the LAPD are kind of rushing the area, the guy's going through the bushes and he gets caught on a little.
Yes, I saw that.
On a little rose thorn. He's like, ow. It's like, what does that have to do with it?
But I like those little minor comic.
It wasn't necessary.
I know it wasn't, but it was just kind of like the news anchor man. Whenever they had talked about, they had because all the stuff at the newsroom, you didn't need it, but it was you had your experts who were giving just really broad and ridiculous theories. But when the guy goes, this is the Helsinki syndrome, he goes. From Helsinki, Sweden. Yeah. To make sure I got that right. And you see
we should have practiced that.
But you see that the producer just going, God.
And the expert goes, Finland. Because he's like, Helsinki, Sweden. Yeah. Finland. Oops. Right. Messed that up.
But I thought those were funny. I like those.
Well, I like that part.
Yeah.
I didn't even take that as the same as, ow, I got a thorn.
I had never caught that until last night when I was watching it.
What?
The thorn.
Oh, okay.
I just never had. I was like, where did that come from? Like, did it actually happen and they just decided to keep it in there? Or did they say, hey, when you go through that bush, why don't you pretend to get stuck?
I don't know. Either way, that's funny. Because that would have been funny if it was the actor just going through, ow. Like, let's leave that in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, according to behind the scenes, the script was constantly being developed the whole way through. So
yeah, well, this was based off a book.
Yeah,
and of course it changed and changed and changed. It's based on a book, but
because in the book, the main character, the McClane character, I don't even know if that was his name in the book, but he was the one dangling off the building and died. But
and actually it was. You need to go watch. It's a Netflix special, like how movies were made and Die Hard, and we purposely didn't want to go into all that because you could watch that and see it. But the character difference was like
it wasn't a happy book.
No, it wasn't a happy book, but it was like a 60-year-old man, which would have been like McClane, and it was like his son or daughter he was trying to get to. So it wasn't a husband and wife aspect, and they wanted to think Frank Sinatra to originally play it, not in the 80s, but.
Like in the late 60s, early 70s.
Whenever they first came out with it. And And then when they finally said, okay, yeah, we're going to make this, we're going to green light it, and then Frank Sinatra was like 60-something, and he's like, yeah, I can't be jumping off buildings and doing stuff. But please watch that special because it goes into so many different things.
It's really interesting.
It's very interesting, and it's another one of these movies, which a lot of them that are on there, movies that almost were not made. So many classics that we watch, and it's like, it's one person made a decision and said, go ahead.
So the little bit of trivia I just want to mention that a lot of people don't realize. So this movie was put out by 20th Century Fox, and the Nakatomi Plaza is actually the 20th Century Fox building. It's like that's their main building, and they were building it at the time, and I guess they needed a tower, and they was like, well, we can just use ours. And so, which was, kind of
Those are real explosions in the middle of the night. The Huey helicopters going through. Oh, man, wouldn't you have loved to have been a neighbor in there? Like, helicopters going around 2 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
So, one interesting aspect, when Hans Gruber falls off the building, or he let go, and they foreshadowed that whenever Ellis, not him falling off, but the watch. Because whenever John McClane comes, Ellis is like, show him the watch. Show him the watch. She's like, I'll show him later. And John's like, yeah, I'm sure I'll see it later. Don't worry. And he's like, it's a Rolex, this and that. Well, you never technically really see the watch until Hans is grabbed onto her wrist. And how they finally get him to go? They release the watch.
Collapse.
Yeah. And so he falls from that. So there's a lot of little foreshadowing stuff. But the look on his face, like, oh God, I'm falling. They're like, we're going to drop you on 3. 1, 2, and they hit the button and dropped him. He thought it was an accident, so he was really scared. It was like,
well, because he dropped what, like 6 feet or something with that.
Yeah, it wasn't real far.
It wasn't far, but still, it was enough to get,
I think it was more than 6 feet, but not much. I mean, it's obviously not going to drop these people that far. They're not stuntmen, so. Yeah, so I thought I heard that a long time ago. I thought that was funny. It's like, that's how you always do it to somebody.
Yeah. So we're going to give what we call our time warp rating. This is going to be our rating to show how we feel this movie has transgressed through time and how we see it today.
And kind of also, could this exact movie be made today? Kind of like the PC kind of thing. Right. We'll just leave it at that. So how do you want to rate it? 1 through 5 or 1 through 10?
We're going to rate it 1 through 10. And as far as I think that this movie holds up extremely well. I mean, taking the fact of when it was made, but just the fact that everything else is kind of going on and the rewatchability of it is just high. So I'm going to give it a 9.
I thought you were going to give it a 10. You were praising it like that.
I know. But
no, I think this movie could definitely be made again the exact same way. Not a remake. I mean, like if it was straight coming to the...
Talk about remakes, and I'm sorry to get off topic, but this movie was... This formula was remade so many times. Speed, Die Hard on a bus, Under Siege, Die Hard on a boat. Everything after this... And everything else, all the other Die Hard movies, are just Die Hard in an airport, Die Hard in a Die
Hard 2 was really good. I like that, but so I think it definitely could still be made. I mean, like if it was fresh script and nobody had ever seen it before, I think it definitely could be made today. So I mean, I'll give it a 9 too.
All right, there you go for an average of 9.
No idea. Oh, 9. Math. I'm just kidding.
All right, what are your thoughts on Die Hard? Do you think it is great as... What?
We never actually told what our coin flip was. Is it a Christmas movie or is it not?
So, actually, my personal feeling is that yes, it is. But this movie just had, a couple of years ago, its 30th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And Fox, Disney, which is why I'm bringing to Disney, is officially came out and called it a Christmas movie for its 30th anniversary.
And why? Why is it a Christmas movie? Tell me that. I think it's a Christmas movie as well, but it's always great to debate. Because
it takes place at Christmas.
Well, see, that's the caveat. A lot of people say, well, then Gremlins is a Christmas movie. Trading Places is a Christmas movie. Lethal Weapon's a Christmas movie. They are not Christmas movies.
No.
Because even though they happen at Christmas time, the only reason John McClane is in L.A. is for Christmas. He's coming there Christmas Eve
to be with his kids.
To be with his family for Christmas.
Right.
It's not like we're having a meeting at the boardroom and it's Christmas in the background and we're talking about whatever. He specifically came there for Christmas.
That's right. And it happens in one night from Christmas Eve into Christmas morning.
Yeah. So if you don't think it's a Christmas movie, you're wrong. I'm just teasing. It's you have your opinion. And let us know down in the comment section whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us. We still love you.
All right. See you next time. Bye.